In a troubling escalation of tensions surrounding campus activism, the Trump administration is now pursuing the deportation of pro-Palestinian students and academics residing legally in the United States. This move marks a significant pivot in the ongoing clash between the administration and elite educational institutions, which the government accuses of failing to adequately combat anti-Semitism. Critics argue that these actions infringe upon free speech rights, blurring the lines between national security and political dissent. According to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the State Department has revoked the visas of potentially over 300 individuals, with more revocations occurring daily. While he did not disclose how many of those affected had participated in campus protests advocating for Palestinian rights, he acknowledged that the number is substantial. Immigration officials have reportedly targeted at least 9 individuals since the beginning of March, including students and professors who have publicly expressed pro-Palestinian sentiments. One of the most notable cases involves Mahmoud Khalil, a lawful permanent resident and prominent protest leader at Columbia University. Khalil, who has Palestinian heritage, was detained in Louisiana after leading high-profile demonstrations against Israel's military actions in Gaza. His wife, who is 8 months pregnant, has been left to navigate this crisis alone as he remains in detention. Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish graduate student at Tufts University, was similarly apprehended after her opinions in a student newspaper drew the ire of a right-wing group that monitors campus activities for alleged anti-Semitism. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin has claimed that investigators found Öztürk involved in activities supportive of Hamas, a designation that adds further complexity to her case. The video of her detention, captured as she was preparing to break her Ramadan fast, has sparked widespread outrage and concern over the methods employed by federal authorities. The situation has prompted legal challenges, with many experts questioning the constitutionality of the administration's actions. The Trump administration has invoked a rarely used provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952, which allows for the expulsion of foreigners deemed to pose potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences. However, legal scholars argue that the actions taken against these students and academics may not meet this threshold, potentially setting the stage for significant legal battles. Additional cases have emerged, including that of Ranjani Srinivasan, a Fulbright recipient from India who fled to Canada after her student visa was revoked. Yunseo Chung, a legal permanent resident and current student at Columbia, has also been targeted for deportation, although a federal judge recently ordered the administration to halt its efforts against him. Similarly, Lika Cordia, a Palestinian student involved in protests, has been detained due to visa issues. The government's crackdown seems to be a part of a broader strategy to tighten immigration controls, coinciding with efforts to deport undocumented immigrants. As officials continue to scrutinize the activities of individuals living in the U.S., they have reportedly been monitoring social media and campus protest footage to identify targets for deportation. The implications of these actions extend beyond individual cases, raising questions about the future of academic freedom and free speech on college campuses. The administration's stance suggests a willingness to confront dissenting voices, particularly those advocating for Palestinian rights, under the guise of national security. As this situation develops, the intersection of immigration policy, national security, and civil liberties remains a critical area of concern. The legal ramifications of these detentions may shape future discussions on free speech in academic settings and the rights of immigrants in the United States. Observers are left to wonder whether this represents a new norm in the administration's approach to dissent, and whether more students and academics will find themselves in similar predicaments as the crackdown continues. As the clock ticks down to a pivotal deadline, former President Donald Trump is intensifying discussions with his aides about the potential for more aggressive tariffs on imports. This move comes amid rising concerns over trade imbalances and economic pressures that could affect the U.S. market. According to sources within his inner circle, Trump has been vocal about his desire to take a bolder stance on tariffs, which he believes could serve both as a negotiating tool and a means to protect American industries. The urgency surrounding this push for increased tariffs has been underscored by a recent meeting where Trump emphasized the need for a comprehensive strategy that could resonate with his political base. "We need to show strength," Trump reportedly stated, encouraging his team to consider raising existing tariffs on key imports, particularly from countries that have historically been viewed as economic competitors. This aligns with Trump's long-standing belief that tariffs are crucial to ensuring fair trade practices and revitalizing U.S. manufacturing. While the administration's focus on tariffs aims to bolster domestic production, economists have raised concerns about the potential backlash. Increased tariffs could lead to higher consumer prices and strained relations with trade partners. The Economic Policy Institute has noted that previous tariffs have already resulted in significant costs for American consumers, estimating that the tariffs introduced during Trump's presidency added approximately $1,300 to the annual expenses of a typical American family. This raises a critical question: can the administration balance the need for protectionist measures with the realities of a globalized economy? Simultaneously, uncertainty looms over the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives (ATF), as Kash Patel, the interim director, has been largely absent from public view, raising questions about the agency's direction and effectiveness. Patel's lack of visibility has left many within the agency and the broader law enforcement community wondering about its future leadership and policy priorities. Critics argue that this absence could undermine crucial initiatives aimed at addressing gun violence and regulatory compliance. In another realm of public policy, discussions around climate action have prompted opinions advocating for a more proactive approach that includes significant infrastructural development. Experts argue that merely setting ambitious climate goals without an actionable plan to build the necessary infrastructure will lead to stagnation. This perspective emphasizes the importance of translating policy into tangible projects that can drive job creation and sustainable growth. As the landscape of American policy continues to evolve, the interplay of trade leadership, uncertainty, and climate strategy will undoubtedly shape the future trajectory of the nation. Stakeholders across various sectors are keenly observing how these developments unfold, particularly as the impact of potential tariffs and the effectiveness of leadership within critical agencies could have lasting implications. Moving forward, it will be essential for the administration to strike a balance between protective measures and the need for economic stability, all while maintaining a clear vision for the future of American infrastructure and climate policy. In a rapidly evolving political landscape, recent developments involving former President Donald Trump have drawn considerable attention, particularly concerning his proposals related to Ukraine and Venezuela. These announcements not only reveal Trump's strategic intentions but also raise questions about their implications for U.S. foreign policy and international relations. On March 29, 2025, Trump outlined a proposal regarding Ukraine that many analysts suggest could be perceived as an ultimatum rather than a genuine offer for peace. Sources close to the situation indicate that Trump's approach may be intended to solidify his political base by appealing to those who favor a more isolationist stance in U.S. foreign policy. According to an unnamed advisor, Trump is banking on the notion that his supporters will respond positively to a tough stance even at the cost of international relations. This perspective could undermine ongoing diplomatic efforts and complicate U.S. interactions with European allies who are keen on maintaining a united front against Russian aggression. In a separate but equally consequential move, Trump ordered a GOP donor's oil company to withdraw from operations in Venezuela, a decision that underscores the complex interplay between business interests and political maneuvering. This directive came amid broader discussions about U.S. sanctions and their impact on the Venezuelan economy. Critics argue that such actions could be seen as prioritizing political donations over strategic national interests. Observers note that Trump's influence in the oil sector could lead to significant shifts in Venezuela's already troubled economy, potentially exacerbating humanitarian issues within the country. Moreover, revelations emerged regarding Pete Hegseth, a prominent figure in conservative media who reportedly brought his wife to sensitive meetings with foreign military officials. This situation raises ethical questions about the conduct of public officials and the potential risks associated with mixing personal relationships with national security matters. As one political analyst remarked, the lines between personal and professional conduct must remain clear, especially when national security is at stake. Adding to the discourse around digital integrity, the advertising industry is grappling with a persistent challenge: the prevalence of fake users undermining the effectiveness of online campaigns. Despite extensive efforts to mitigate this issue, recent reports indicate that initiatives aimed at weeding out fraudulent accounts have fallen short. Industry leaders express frustration, noting the current measures are not sufficient to protect advertisers from the financial drain caused by fake engagement. This ongoing dilemma highlights the urgent need for more robust solutions to ensure that advertising investments yield genuine returns. As these narratives unfold, the implications for U.S. domestic and foreign policy are profound. Trump's maneuvers suggest a pivot towards a more transactional approach to international relations, which could have lasting effects on global alliances and the stability of regions like Eastern Europe and Latin America. Furthermore, the challenges faced by the advertising industry reflect broader concerns about authenticity and accountability in the digital age. Looking ahead, it will be crucial to monitor how these developments play out in the political arena and their potential to shape the future of U.S. engagement on the world stage. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the interplay between business interests, national security, and international diplomacy remains a critical area for scrutiny. In a significant diplomatic development, the Trump administration is extending its controversial domestic policies on diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) to European companies that do business with the U.S. government. This move, which has elicited shock and concern among European business leaders, signals a broader shift in U.S. foreign policy under Trump's renewed presidency. A letter dispatched by the American Embassy in Paris, along with other embassies across Europe, has warned major companies in the European Union of the need to comply with an executive order banning DEI programs. According to sources familiar with the matter, the letter applies to any European companies that serve as suppliers or service providers to the American government. It mandates that these companies certify their compliance with U.S. anti-discrimination laws and prohibits them from operating DEI initiatives that could be deemed in violation of these laws. The document, titled Certification Regarding Compliance with Applicable Federal Anti-Discrimination Law, underscores the administration's intent to impose its domestic regulations extraterritorially. Department of State contractors must certify that they do not operate any programs promoting DEI that violate any applicable anti-discrimination laws, it states, implying that non-compliance could jeopardize their contracts with the U.S. government. This directive has sparked a backlash, particularly in France, where DEI initiatives have not traditionally gained a foothold due to legal restrictions on collecting racial and ethnic data. A senior banker in Paris expressed disbelief, stating, "It's crazy, but everything is now possible. The rule of the strongest now prevails." French officials echoed these sentiments, with the finance ministry expressing concern that the U.S. values diverge significantly from their own. The implications of this move extend beyond mere compliance. It comes at a time of escalating tensions between the U.S. and Europe over economic policies, especially in light of Trump's recent imposition of tariffs on European goods. The growing estrangement threatens to upend long-standing alliances and complicate trade relationships, particularly as the EU contemplates retaliatory measures in response to U.S. tariffs on automobiles and steel. Although the legality of enforcing such an extraterritorial order remains uncertain, with some executives contemplating non-compliance, the potential fallout is already being felt. This directive could reshape the dynamics of U.S.-European business relations, forcing companies to reconsider their operational and hiring practices to align with U.S. standards even when they operate within the EU. As this regulatory landscape evolves, it is indicative of a broader trend under the Trump administration that prioritizes a unilateral approach to international relations, often at the expense of multilateral cooperation. The ramifications of this will likely be profound, influencing not only corporate behavior but also the political discourse surrounding globalization and economic interdependence. Looking ahead as the U.S. gears up for the 2024 elections, the interplay between domestic policy and international relations will become increasingly critical. Observers will be closely watching how European companies navigate these new challenges and whether this marks a turning point in transatlantic business practices. The administration's approach to DEI could very well set the stage for a new era of economic diplomacy, one that prioritizes compliance over collaboration. Tensions between Denmark and the United States have escalated following remarks made by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance during his recent trip to Greenland. Vance criticized Denmark's handling of the semi-autonomous territory, accusing the nation of neglecting its responsibilities and failing to invest adequately in both the people of Greenland and the region's security architecture. Speaking at the Patuthik Space Base, a site of strategic importance, Vance stated, "Our message to Denmark is very simple: you have not done a good job by the people of Greenland." The comments were met with swift condemnation from Danish officials. Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen responded on social media, emphasizing that while Denmark welcomes constructive criticism, the tone of Vance's remarks was inappropriate. "This is not how you speak to your close allies," he asserted, reaffirming the long-standing alliance between Denmark and the United States. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen echoed these sentiments, highlighting Denmark's contributions to international security, particularly its military cooperation with the U.S. in Iraq and Afghanistan. She countered Vance's claims by stating the vice president's reference to Denmark is not accurate. Frederiksen also accused the U.S. of exerting unacceptable pressure on Denmark and Greenland regarding the territory's status, which has been a point of contention since Greenland, once a Danish colony, became a semi-autonomous territory. A recent poll indicated that a majority of Greenlanders oppose U.S. annexation, illustrating the complexity of the issue. Vance's statements come amid a backdrop of heightened geopolitical competition in the Arctic region, where U.S. interests are increasingly focused on countering Russian influence. The Patuthik base, known historically as Thule Air Base, plays a crucial role in U.S. missile defense strategy due to its geographical location, which provides a vantage point for monitoring potential threats. The vice president's remarks also touched upon a controversial perspective regarding the future of Greenland, suggesting that the territory should be under U.S. control for national security reasons. "I think Greenland understands that the United States should own it," he said. A statement that raised eyebrows in both Denmark and Greenland. Vance later clarified that he did not foresee the need for military action to achieve this aim, insisting that a deal could be reached amicably. As the situation unfolds, Danish and Greenlandic officials have reiterated their commitment to maintaining sovereignty over Greenland. In a recent display of unity, political leaders in Greenland formed a broad coalition government, asserting their collective stance: "Greenland belongs to us." Incoming Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen emphasized the importance of solidarity in the face of external pressures. This diplomatic spat is not just a matter of national pride, it underscores a larger geopolitical struggle involving Arctic resources and security. Denmark has announced plans to increase its military presence in the Arctic, allocating significant funding for surveillance and infrastructure. This move is seen as a response to growing U.S. interest in the region, particularly as international focus intensifies on Arctic shipping routes and resource extraction opportunities. In conclusion, the recent tensions between Denmark and the U.S. highlight the fraught nature of international relations in the Arctic. As both nations navigate these complex dynamics, the future of Greenland remains at the forefront of discussions, with implications not only for U.S.-Danish relations but also for the broader geopolitical landscape in the region. With Denmark firmly opposing pressures for U.S. annexation and reaffirming its commitment to Greenland's autonomy, the coming months will be crucial in shaping the territory's future and the nature of its ties to both Denmark and the United States. In a recent press conference, U.S. President Donald Trump provided a humorous yet pointed definition of a woman that ignited laughter among attendees and reignited discussions surrounding gender identity and sports. Responding to a reporter's question on defining a woman, Trump quipped, "A woman is somebody who under certain circumstances can have a baby. She has equality. A woman is a person who is much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person who doesn't even give a man a chance of success." His remarks drew chuckles, reflecting both his characteristic bravado and the contentious political landscape surrounding gender issues. The inquiry arose during a moment of levity in a serious discussion which included the swearing-in of Alina Habba as the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. The reporter, acknowledging Trump's history of appointing women to key positions in his administration, posed the question in light of the ongoing debates among Democrats about gender identity. The laughter in the room, however, soon gave way to more serious commentary as Trump pivoted to a topic he has frequently addressed: the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. Trump asserted the idea that men can compete in women's sports is not only ridiculous but deeply unjust. It disrespects and demeans women. This statement echoes the policies he enacted during his first term, which included an executive order titled "Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports." This order aimed to restrict transgender athletes from competing in women's athletics at institutions receiving federal funding. A move that has drawn sharp criticism from LGBTQ+ advocates while resonating with his base. The implications of Trump's stance extend beyond the sports arena. As he reiterated his administration's commitment to defining gender strictly as biological, he underscored a broader political strategy aimed at galvanizing support among conservative voters who feel traditional gender roles are under threat. His remarks were strategically timed amid ongoing legislative battles over transgender rights and representation in various sectors, including education and healthcare. While California's recent legislation aimed at protecting transgender students has come under fire, with Trump alluding to potential electoral consequences for Democratic lawmakers who support such measures, the debate remains a flashpoint in American politics. Trump's comments reflect a broader cultural divide, one that has seen increasing polarization around issues of identity and rights. As Trump's presidency unfolds into its second term, his approval ratings have shown slight improvement, now standing at 45%, suggesting a potential honeymoon period with voters. However, the effectiveness of his policies on gender and immigration will ultimately determine whether this trend continues. Analysts are closely monitoring how these issues will play out as they intersect with national conversations about equality rights and the future of American social policy. In closing his remarks, Trump expressed admiration for women, stating, "Women are incredible people who do so much for our country. We love our women and we're going to take care of them." This statement, while seemingly supportive, is layered with the political implications of his administration's policies, which continue to shape the landscape of gender discourse in America. As the nation grapples with these complex issues, it remains to be seen how public opinion will evolve and what legislative actions will follow in the coming months.